Merrick Stark, joined by Paula Wolf, who writes a column for Lancaster newspapers, wheelchair quarterback, right? And
Yes.
Talks about a lot of things in there. I'm sure you're going to probably be talking about Charlie Manuel coming up. The Phillies let Charlie Manuel go, fired, relieved of his duties, whatever you want to call it. Just got 1,000 wins. The timing of Charlie being let go on a Friday afternoon, hours before their game, seems interesting to me. Talk a little bit about the timing of this, Paula.
Well, the Phillies were going to be honoring Charlie for his 1,000th victory tonight, so it seems like
wow.
a huge irony that he's fired the same day as the ceremony was going to be.
Take your award and get out. Yeah.
Right.
Why? Why now? Why is this a good time to let him go? And what have you heard as to now instead of a couple weeks ago, or wait till the end of the year?
What I read before I came down was that apparently, I guess Ruben Amaro told Charlie that he wasn't going to be coming back next year.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't going to renew his contract. So I guess Charlie must have said, well, then I'm not going to finish out the season. I mean, why bother be a lame duck? You know, I just don't want to be, sitting here knowing I'm not going to be returning.
Right.
So I'm guessing maybe it was Charlie's call to not finish out the year, or maybe a mutual decision. I'm not sure.
How do you look back on the Charlie Manuel legacy?
I guess I don't want to say mixed feelings. I mean, I guess part of me thinks that they should have won more than one World Series because they had, they won 5 division titles in 5 years. They advanced to the World Series twice, won once.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 year they won 102 games, they never even got past the first round. I mean, but then baseball seems to be a really, I'm not sure how to explain it, but just once you get to the postseason, anything can happen. The big team with the best record often doesn't win the World Series, so maybe I'm being a little hard on him when I say that. I also remember, the fact that he won one means a lot to me because the Phillies have only won 2 World Series in their whole history, which is 126 years or whatever it is. So, he has to be considered among the best managers in Phillies history, and maybe the best if you look at the sustained level of excellence, as somebody pointed out. They often hear about Gene Mauch as being this great manager back in the 60s, but he never won a World Series.
Right.
And he was the manager when they blew that lead in 1964.
Yeah, big collapse, yeah.
So I don't think Charlie would win any manager contest as far as, he wouldn't be in the upper echelon of cerebral managers, I don't think. But I think the players really liked him a lot, and I think that counts for something. I think they're willing to play their hearts out for him, and maybe until recently that might have been a problem.
I was just going to say, I think he was a player's manager, and up until this year, they would play their hearts out. But you saw things on the field this year that were very unlike Charlie Manuel teams with the way they went about things. And I think his voice was lost in the clubhouse, just like the Eagles. Andy Reid's voice got lost after all these years. I think the same thing. They tuned him out after all this time. I do think that another manager may have won another World Series here.
Right.
I think there was a crucial, when you're in a 5-game series or 7-game series, when you made the playoffs a few times, you saw certain moves.
Right.
He may have been loyal to a fault, Paula. Yes. I'm going to go back, 2010, that was probably, blame that on Ruben Amaro Jr. Why you let Cliff Lee go? If they had an extra stud pitcher, they'd probably compete for another World Series right there. 2011 against the Cardinals, Oswalt's got a bad back. He goes with a veteran pitcher when rookie Vance Worley had been very hot down the stretch. Does Vance Worley pitch better, and maybe they go on and beat the Cardinals in that series, and who knows, they're in the World Series again. I will remember Charlie Manuel for being a player's manual and I think a player's coach, and at times allowing players to work themselves out of slumps, pitching and hitting. But his legacy will also be marred for me because you wonder how intelligent he really was and how much of an in-game strategist he was. After Jimmy Williams left as the bench coach after they won the World Series, saying, I want more money for the responsibilities I have. And Davey Lopes, the first base coach who was the great base stealing coach for these guys, said basically the same thing. I want more money for the responsibilities I have. Pat Gillick was very bright to surround Charlie with smart guys. After they left, the team wasn't the same.
Right.
So I will remember for that as well. But hey, you can't take away the World Series. I just kept thinking, how much time does he get? They keep rescinding and going the wrong way, and the time came now.
I feel sorry for him in a lot of ways. I think it's sad, but so many managers get fired. Almost all of them get fired at one point or another. So, I think maybe 5 or 10 years from now we'll say, remember when the Phillies won 5 titles in a row and Charlie Manuel was a manager? We might look very fondly on that era, down the road. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Sandberg can do. I think, he's younger. He probably has maybe better connections with some of the young players in the team, having managed them at Lehigh Valley last year. So we'll see maybe if he And maybe he'll change the lineup a little bit. We'll see. I mean, they don't have a lot of options as far as, with all the injuries and everything with where you bat people. But, maybe he'll just give the younger pitchers more chances. I don't know.
Something needed done. I was glad they went with Sandberg, who has the credentials. He's proven as a minor league manager. He's done well. And he's a Hall of Famer. You think that would bowl for someone where some of these guys will play well for him. He's coached a lot of the guys that are on the bench right now in the minors. So I'm curious to see if this doesn't get the team to have a little bit more of a spark.
Right. Yeah, I'm guessing, I don't know how much, if Sandberg's managing the last part of the season is going to, I guess it'll help to determine if he becomes the full-time manager in 2014. Although I guess it's not really fair to maybe ask him to accomplish a lot with what he has now on his roster. You have to realize.
That's for sure.
They might be lucky to win 10 more games, the rest of the year.
All right.
So.